On today's Hashi, I'm discussing housing inventory for the last 7 days, existing home sales, and the latest consumer sentiment survey. Today is Monday, April 28th, 2025. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Okay, live from Naples. Let me know in the live chat for you which market you're tuning in from here today, wherever you may be. Let me know. Let's connect in the chat with each other. If you're new to the hot sheet, we do the show every single Monday through Thursday when the markets are open. It's the only daily housing show for agents on the internet. We go over the economy. We go over what economic conditions are impacting housing. We cover it all right here every Monday through Thursday. The free and simple way to support the show and all of the content that we put out here on YouTube, on the BAM YouTube channel, is hit subscribe down below. It's free. It's simple. You hit subscribe. You hit the notification bell. You get notified when these live videos go up. They go up every single Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern or 9:30 a.m. Eastern when the stock market's open, 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. Stock market opens on the same time on the East Coast as the West Coast. It's just a lot earlier for the West Coast folks. I'm sorry. I didn't make the rules. I didn't decide that the Big Apple was going to be the financial hub of the world. It's just the way it is. So free and simple way is to just subscribe, and glad to have you a part of the board, a part of the crew here. If you've been following the hot sheet, share it with a friend. Let somebody know about this show. We put the replays on Apple. We put them on Spotify so you can get them there. All right. Let's let an agent that you care about know about what's going on here. Let's start with the inventory. We do this every Monday. We get a look back on the last 7 days on what's going on with inventory on the macro across the country. It's about as important as anything in housing that we could be looking at. Okay. If inventory, thank you, Jason, for that. Knowledge Brokers on Friday. By the way, I'm sorry to kind of squirrel on this one, but if throw Jason's comment back up and throw the link in there in the live chat for the Knowledge Brokers. It's just me and Tom. Lisa was out. So I know a bunch of people will say, hey, it wasn't one of the best ones because Lisa brings so much to the table, but Tom and I had a chance to go deep on a lot of different points. Tomorrow, BAMX members, tomorrow, Tom is going to be joining me on inside of BAMX on the members only role play. So right before we do hot sheet tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, Tom Toole and Lisa are going to be joining me on the members only, the BAMX, on the BAMX live role play. So if you're a BAMX member, you just jump into school and go to the calendar, and it's going to be right here, live role play. Myself, Tom Toole, Lisa Chennai. Just thought of that when you mentioned Knowledge Brokers there. All right, we're tracking inventory for the last 7 days. We're tracking it every single week because it's one of the most important things we can look at on the macro across the country as we're looking for affordability. You know, what's one thing that can put downward pressure on prices? Yeah, certainly a recession might do that. That's like kind of what you would think, even though 4 of the last recessions, home values went up, not down. One of them, they went flat. One of them was a great financial crisis. So really, there's absolutely no guarantee. In fact, the backwards looking data would tell us a recession doesn't push prices down. You would think people losing jobs at scale, something like that, pushes home prices don't go down that often. They just don't go down. You had the great financial crisis. Everybody still burned from that. Everybody remembers it. It was the hottest stove anybody's touched in their lives. And there's a lot of PSD over it. So, it's one of those things. How do you get prices to go down? Well, you got to have a lot more inventory than there is buyers. You need to have more people willing to sell than you have people willing to buy. And, if that extends out over a period of time, you'll get downward pressure on prices. At least move flat, or it'll stop transactions. So if we take a look here at the last 7 days, what's going on according to Altos Research, we had another increase on inventory. We're up to 731,000 on active inventory across the country, up from 719,000, basically 732,000. We're a week away from hitting the peak for 2024 on inventory. If we stay at the same rate that we've been gaining here the last couple of weeks. If we do what we did the last 7 days this week on national inventory, we will set a new peak since we get into any point over the last 5 years. You got to go back to 2019 to find higher levels of inventory. Okay. So, or you got to go back to like week 1 of 2020 when we had 763,000. By the way, we'll pass that this year. I'm very confident in saying we're going to get to the 800,000s here. It's a matter of how much, how high are we going to go? Like, can we start to approach some of these 2019 peak levels? Okay. I don't think we get there, high 9s, but where in the 8s can we get to? Remains to be seen. So last year's peak was 740,000. By the way, that was in October. Okay. We peaked out in October. We've got May, June, July, August, September. We've got 5 months of accumulating more inventory. What's the peak going to look like in October? Now, the peak was a little bit late last year. If you look at 2019, come September, we had peaked in June and kind of rode that till September. I say 2019, last normal market. That's more normal. You go back in history, kind of like hit the peak end of June, graduation time, active inventory in the country kind of hits that high level, kind of stays there till September. And then in October, you start to see that seasonal decline. Well, last year we didn't really hit that peak until October. It was a short peak season, and then we weren't declining until really the election came around, and then we had the seasonal decline. And it wasn't even as sharp as what you would expect in a normal year. Okay, so we still have a whole month here of what if you go back to 2019, like we're going to see some real acceleration here over the next month. If you look at, how much in 2019 normal market did you gain the last week of April all the way to the last week of May? That was like 75,000 active listings. That alone would push us up over 800,000 to start June. We could be starting June. If you get normal accumulation on active inventory, not saying we will, but I'm just throwing out a theory here, could be starting at June up over 800,000. What a recovery nationally that would be. Might be different in your local market, but nationally, what a recovery that would be on inventory and really start to set up the stage, depending on where rates are, for a 2026 real estate market that could see a lot more transactions. Interestingly, last year we were at 556,000 active listings at this time. We're at 731,000 right now. Interestingly, pending sales is identical. Isn't that interesting? For the last week, you had 398,000 plus, almost 399, but 398 plus on pending sales. Same week last year, 398. Okay. Identical. Okay. We'll take the improvement from 2023, but you've got almost, 200, call it 180,000 more homes on the market right now. 180,000. We're just looking at single family existing homes. Okay. You've got single family inventory up 180,000 and no movement on pending home sales. Zero. The numbers are identical according to Altos. Absolutely identical. That's what puts downward pressure on prices. It's like there's clearly not more buyers in the 30-day window, the 60-day window, the now buyer. There's pent-up buyers. We get it. But there's clearly not now buyers at a higher level than there was last year. That demand is somewhat moving sideways. We see mortgage purchase application as the rates get volatile, which they were the last couple of weeks. They steadied out last week. Applications moved down, up year over year, but the applications the last 2 weeks have come off of that high point that we saw. We're starting to get into a time of year, May, where they're going to slow down naturally. Unless we get a downward movement on rates. Better than last year on applications, yes. One of the things holding rates up, obviously the volatility, the spread isn't helping. The spread between the 30-year and the 10-year is where it was last year, okay? It's, relatively speaking, over the last week or so. And we've got the 10-year, obviously, that has been pretty volatile with everything that's going on, tariffs, economy, all that kind of stuff. Pretty volatile on the 10-year. Now, in line with, like, if you look at Logan's forecast, in line with basically, where he thought that would be, he's got a range fluctuating between 3.8 and 4.7. We were actually getting below 3.8 at one point. We're right in the middle of that range right now as we start this week, 4.276. This is a little bit better. Let's go back to the last 5 days. This is a little bit better than we've seen throughout the last week. We're up over 4.3, highs 4.4 5 days ago. So I'll take 4.276 to start the week. Hopefully there's a trend here that we're going to see. We're going to continue to see downward movement on the 10-year. We'll see. One thing that's going to help affordability and some of this inventory stuff and options for people to say, I'm going to put my house on the market or I'm going to go buy a house, is what's new coming on the market, not the stuff that's just accumulating. That number went down a little bit over last week, 69,000, 70,000, basically, call it, when you round up, over the last week on new single family listings. This is new listings, so not new construction, but new inventory coming to the market, about 70,000. It was 72 same week last year. So it's the first time in weeks, months, that we've dipped below last year's number. Love to get up over 80,000 on this number. It remains to be seen if we'll get there. As you see the last couple of weeks, the rates get a little bit tougher, and that momentum that we saw on new listings, new sellers coming to the market, kind of slows down. Got to find something to buy if you're going to sell. It's a lot easier to swallow trading out of 3.5 if the rate is 6. When it's 7, I don't really want to double up on the rate. And so we see this as rates get back to 7, we see things tighten up. As they get closer to 6, we see things loosen up. We'll see pending home sales potentially go up if they get closer to 6. More sellers become more homeowners become sellers. More sellers become buyers. The market starts to move. It's what the new administration wants. They want a lower 10-year. They want a lower rate. They want activity in the housing market. They don't want near all-time lows. They don't want lows on mortgage applications that we've seen since 1995. That's what we're dealing with a higher population, with more buyers who are income ready, age ready, all of that. But yet we're not seeing the transactions. We're seeing more sellers than the same week each of the last 2 years decide to cut the price, 35.6%. Okay, percent of properties with recent price reductions. This is U.S. single-family existing homes. We know what it is for builders. It's even more when you add in incentives. Builders, reductions, incentives. They're doing it to be competitive, and you're seeing it's usually a third. So this is a little bit elevated, especially for the spring, on what you would expect. It'll be interesting to see where that goes to the end of the year. How many sellers need to sell, are serious about getting the home sold, or do we have aspirational sellers kind of testing what's going on? All right. One thing that'll move up if the rates move down is that transaction count. But we didn't see that over the last 30 days. In March in particular, existing home sales, according to NAR, they moved down. Month over month, we saw a 5.9% decline on existing home sales. And we're seeing things fall out of, I don't know if you're seeing it, but things are falling out of contract. It's one of those things when you have sometimes when you're a buyer and there's too many options, like there's too much inventory. And you see that in Southwest Florida. You see that when there's too much, you can back out of deals more often because it's like it creates that uncertainty. 5.9% down month over month on existing home sales. This is March's numbers. So February to March, year over year, down 2.4%. You got to get pendings forward looking to move up to change these numbers annually. 4.02 million. That's the floor. Nobody expects existing home sales to go under 4 million. None of the analysts expect it. Like 4 million is a floor, but we got more population. We got millennials that are age ready to buy a home, but seasonally adjusted, we're at 4.02. I'm going to be off on my over under. We're not going to get up over 4.25 million on existing home sales. Doesn't look like it right now. I mean, we're into May. Memorial Day's around the corner. You kind of know what the spring market feels like at this point. Like what your swing is going to be on the 13th hole. You can hope it's magically going to change on the 14th tee box, but if you've been swinging one way for 13 holes and it's going bad, it typically gets worse from there. 4 months of inventory right now. That's versus 3.2 months a year ago. Interesting. 4 months of inventory for existing home sales. It's half of what new construction is. New construction's at 8. So on the macro, sellers are still in a good position in terms of inventory versus, in the country. You got pockets that are a buyer's market for sure. But generally speaking, the country's a seller's market. 4 months of inventory, it's getting close to even. Redfin says even is 5 months. 6 month is rule of thumb. That's kind of the standard over decades of time. 6 months of inventory is an even neutral market, but neither buyers nor sellers have control. It's 4. So you'd say lean sellers nationally right now. When you clump it all together, 4 months of inventory, but rising. Okay, so we're going to get to a neutral market here at some point. I think you could argue, as you see an ascension up to 5, you're getting closer and closer to that neutral market now. Median sales Northeast, exclude it. It's crazy, right? Where there's no inventory, you got to exclude that, but that's what you're looking at. Median sale price is up 2.7% year over year, 403,700. Of course, Zillow says those numbers are going down. For the first time, Zillow is saying, hey, expect a 1.7% drop year over year. So, kind of Zillow's projecting to give up that gain that we just looked at. Here's existing home sales when you kind of zoom out. 2021, it has been on a decline. I mean, these are lows that people just don't expect on season adjusted annual rate with where we're at. You just don't see it go under 4 million really ever. I mean, this is just the last 4 or 5 years, and we were peaking out at 6.4. Obviously, it was hard to believe you get this low this quick. Median price of existing home sales. Time of year. It's probably likely you get up over the 426,000 in a couple of months, as you see those peaks happen in June, July. So we'll see where that goes at 403,000 now. That's well above the same time last year, 378,000 on median price of existing home sales. Existing home sales up 2.7%. We've seen gains in year over year gains every month over the last year. Okay. 12 months from today, Zillow's saying that'll be in a negative. We'll see. That's based on this data that they're getting right now. Total existing home sales down 2.4%. It continues. Now that's a big number, but it's not as big as, look at last year. This time it was down 3.3%. So, when you look at it from last March's number, not as big of a drop. Here's what realtors' confidence are. We're going to get into consumer confidence in just a second. Consumer confidence probably the most important thing for us to factor in here as we look at what's going on with the economy and what market reactions are going to be. Realtors, first-time home buyers, they're saying it's 32% of sales. Same thing they were saying last year. Sales to investors, 15, same as last year. Cash sales down 2 points, 26% versus 28. Distressed sales ticking up to 3 now, over a 2 last year in March. We've seen 2 a lot. We were seeing 1 a lot. Then we were seeing 2. Now we're seeing 3% distressed sales. Days on market is up 3 days, 36. Still not a huge number. Existing home sales by region, South 45%, swallowing up 40. That includes Texas. That includes Florida. Those are big population states. Northeast only makes up 12%. Midwest is 24. The West is 19. I mean, sales price by range, it's 250,000 to 500. You throw in the 0 to 100,000 and the 100 to 250. Like that's these 3 buckets. If you're seeing it on YouTube, this light blue bucket, this red bucket, and this, I guess middle blue, royal blue bucket, that's where the sales are happening under 500,000. It's why builders are sitting on 8 months of inventory. They can't build in these price ranges in most areas. Okay. There's still the majority of the sales happen in price ranges where like, can you build it for that? That's why they're happening there. Remember the JP Morgan Chase, executive said when we looked at it on the hot sheets, like anything under cost of replacement in a market, we want to buy. Anything under the cost of replacement, under market value, cost of replacing in that market, rather, what would the cost of replacing, if you buy land in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the West where nobody lives, you can get a cheap, or Texas, they got those like $10,000 lots. Well, there's nothing there in certain parts. If you find land in the Northeast for a lot, it might be $180,000. Yeah. So cost of replacement is different in that market than it would be in some of these areas where there's no infrastructure and all of that, right? You find existing homes under cost of replacement. JP Morgan says buy them all day. They're doing it. They got billions. They're doing it. Change in sales by price range. Now those $1 million sales, they're up 13.8%. That's who can afford to buy. 750 to $1 million. That's up 8.6 in total sales. So who can afford to buy? Hey, we want transactions to come back to 5 million existing. Well, then the under 500,000 sales got to come back, but they're all down. Okay. The people who the pent up demand, you don't have pent up demand up over 1 million. Yeah, you have good demand. You have rising, 13.8% more sales, and people can afford it. But you don't have pent up demand. You don't have just piles of demand sitting on the sidelines up over. Oh, I'm going to wait for rates in the $3 million price range. Now, you got people waiting to see what's going to happen. Probably ill-advised, depending on market, depending on personal situation. Under 500,000. Those are the ones that are really waiting. That's the market that needs to come back in order to see sales go up. All right, let's look at University of Michigan tapping into the minds of some of these consumers. This is the survey of consumers, University of Michigan. If you're from Michigan, go Wolverines, I guess. Let me know in the live chat if you're there, if you're tuning in from Michigan today. Here's the University of Michigan. They do more than football. They're looking at how consumers think right now about this economy. Okay. So here are your final results for April 2025. The index of consumer sentiment comes in at a 52.2. This is a 32% dive year over year. This is a month over month change of 8.4% down. March, it was a 57. Okay. Michigan was a swing state. A lot of people in post-November election or January, voted because of the economy. Well, what's happened? The sentiments are still moving down. Okay. It's not that they were high and then moved out. They're still moving down. We saw sentiments around the economy in 23 move down, in 24 move down. It's one of the things that changed the election. The people, exit polls, the economy, inflation, the way I feel about the economy. These were all important. Those numbers are still moving down today. They were moving down all of last year. I said it all year last year. The economy's not working for everybody. It's still not working for everybody. The changes that are being made first 100 days of new administration feels a lot longer than 100 days. It's 100 days. There's bumps, whatever you want to call it. There's volatility. There's uncertainty. There's questions. There's people that hate it. There's people that love it. There's certainly a lot of change happening. Well, year over year, consumer sentiment is down 32%, according to the University of Michigan. Month over month, it's down 8.4%. I mean, that's like a third, that's like quarter of the down in 1 month over the year. Last couple of months, sentiment moving down. Current economic conditions coming in at a 60 in April, off of a 63 in March. It's down 24% year over year, 6.3% month over month. Index of consumer expectations, a 47.3. It's down 37.8 year over year, 10% month over month. Consumers don't know what to expect right now. That's one of those reasons you're seeing why are sales slowing down. If a seller's wondering like, should we go at aspirational pricing? Should we go at comp base or competitive? Like, I don't know if you want to go aspirational. Unless you want to be racking up days on market. People are uncertain. They need to be certain about the price. They don't need to be guessing what your magic number is and coming on a negotiation. People need certainty right now. It's 4 straight months consumer sentiment fell, according to the University of Michigan. 4 straight months. Year ahead inflation expectations, they remain elevated. They went up 5.5% here. Inflation expectations remain elevated after surging and softening modestly following April 2025 tariff developments. Supposedly, a lot of deals are being discussed, chatted about, potentially happening, what have you. We'll see. We're just going to have to see. We're going to have to see where things go. Right now, the 10-year is not showing many signs here on this Monday to be concerned. I'm fine with where the 10-year is coming in. The Dow's up 120 points. S&P's up. NASDAQ's slightly down. S&P's basically flat. So probably a wait and see. You're hearing, this negotiating window of tariffs. I keep hearing, I went to a furniture store over the weekend and picked up something for some outdoor furniture by the pool. And the gentleman that helped me out, he said, "Hey, good thing you're buying this." I said, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, if when the tariffs go up, a lot of this outdoor furniture is going to go up 50%. I said, I thought we were like, I kind of look at this stuff every week. Like the tariffs are on a pause for 90 days. They're negotiating. But his thing was, yeah, but when it happens, they're all going to go up. It's like, so people just hear, even if it's like the uncertainty is what gets them. I'm like you guys have this thing on sale. And then if I buy over a certain amount, I get even a bigger discount. So I got double discount. You're telling me these prices are going to go up so much when the tariffs come, yet you're discounting. Like I would imagine just keeping this at full price pre-tariff would be valuable. Just keep it and keep it at full price, because if the tariffs go up, this is going to look like a bargain. You're going to be able to sell the stuff you already have at, whatever, 50%, whatever the number is. But yet I'm like, man, but people live in if it's not certain, they don't know exactly what it's going to be. it creates a lot of hesitation. I mean, I think there's probably sales on this stuff. It's time of year. It's Florida. It's season's getting over. Season is over. Sales come out. Memorial Day sale. You know the deal. Happens every year. They want to bump more sales. And but listen, the buyers, the sellers, the clients the investors. If the guy that helped me, the salesperson at a furniture store is saying, very nice furniture store, is saying this stuff, what are your consumers thinking? Okay. What mainstream media headlines are they spitting out? So you got to help them navigate that. Listen, I think there's more opportunity now if I'm a buyer than if everything was perfect, rates were down and everything was figured out. There's more opportunity for me to negotiate now. Doesn't feel that way with where we are at. Rates ended the week last week at 6.84. That was the lowest point of the week. Love to see it go lower today. Can we get back on this momentum train of moving down? The weekly was 6.81 according to Freddie Mac. 2 weeks of elevated rates. We'll see where they go. 10-year starting in a decent place for us here to get moving in the right direction. CME Group says don't expect a cut on the next Fed meeting. We're 9 days away from the next FOMC meeting, so we'll see what happens. Okay. BAMX members tomorrow before the hot sheet. Okay. Go to calendar tab. Links right here. 9 a.m. I'm doing a live role play. So you want to throw objections at me, at Tom Toole, at Lisa Chinati. You want to work through some scripting, these conversations, all the stuff that we're talking about. Like you want to work it through in a conversational format. BAMX members tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're going to be doing that. Okay. Also, I'm doing 3 o'clock on Wednesday, building out an operating system here for your business. Quick overview. Me, Tom, and Lisa are doing a BAM workshop on May 15th. You just go to bamworkshop.live. We're going to go really deep on what I'm talking about on Wednesday, how to scale your business. It'll be all day with the 3 of us, very small group. Go to bamworkshop.live to purchase that ticket if you're interested in it. But I'll do a little bit of that for members only, office hours on Wednesday. So a couple things coming up here for BAM X members only. And obviously last week we also had our new content drop. You just go to Classroom, go to new this week, get new content every single week. Here's all of the templates here for this week. Hyper local content and templates. Really good stuff, obviously, every single week. I mean, this I think Sharon commented on this. It's just insane value. The blogs, the video scripts, the emails that you get, you just boom, plug and play inside of bamxschool.com/BAMX members. Again, tomorrow, live role play. See you there at 9, links in your calendar. So that'll be right before the hot sheet. Then we'll roll into this. So happy to see you guys here on this Monday. Have a great day. I will see you for BAMX members. I'll see you in the role play before hot sheet tomorrow. Everyone else, I'll see you in the hot sheet. Until then, toodaloo.